Being a successful entrepreneur or leader doesn't mean you have to run on fumes. Dr. Andy Melton's Strategic Rhythm Reset helps high performers redesign their week so they can achieve more with less stress. During a 90-minute session, you'll dive deep into protecting your priorities and focus on your energy. You'll receive a personalized blueprint that balances business goals, relationships, health, and personal priorities. Afterward, a rhythm reset guide will summarize your insights and provide tools to keep you aligned, and a follow-up call ensures you stay on track. The benefits? Clarity on what truly matters. Freedom from overwhelm, better performance with less stress, a repeatable system, and momentum for long-term growth. Ready to reclaim your time and energy? Visit scalinguph2o.com/Andy Melton. Once again, that's scalinguph2o.com/ANDYMELTON. Don't wait, book your Strategic Rhythm Reset with Dr. Andy Melton today. Imagine an ammonia analyzer that practically runs itself. With Hach's NH6000SC, you get an instrument that automatically calibrates, validates, and cleans. While smart diagnostics keep performance steady, its durable design means the compressor lasts twice as long, and maintenance just twice a year. Reagents last 6 months, and you can choose lightweight or rugged filters that fit your site's needs. Plus, remote monitoring lets you check on your samples anytime. Behind it all is Hach's expert team, backed by decades of innovation in water quality. Head to scalinguph2o.com/Hach and discover how it can free up your day. Welcome to the Scaling Up H2O podcast, the podcast where we scale up on knowledge so we don't scale up our systems. I'm Trace Blackmore, the host of the Scaling Up H2O podcast. And nation, I am still on an incredible high about seeing so many of you just last week at the Association of Water Technologies conference. How awesome was that? It's my favorite conference of the year. And so many people are members of the Scaling Up Nation at that conference. And I know that because I saw so many people walking around with Scaling Up buttons. Yes, the magic button that we're talking about. And Nation, I gave out so many buttons. I know that because I go to the conference with a bag with buttons in them. And it is 10 or 20 pounds lighter when I come back. That is a lot of buttons. So thank you so much for wearing the button. I hope that magic button worked its magic for you. The whole point is to make it easy for you to connect with other people. And of course, we want to make sure people know about the podcast. And hopefully you shared with people that might have been at the conference that there is a podcast for us industrial water treaters. And all they have to do is go to their favorite podcast player to download well over 450 episodes all around this amazing career. So thank you for all of you out there in the Scaling Up Nation that did that. Thank you for all of the people out there that were wearing the buttons. And several people brought some back to their teams to ensure that they're thinking about the podcast and they're trying to make each and every day better by doing some of the challenges that we talk about in the podcast. It was just so cool to see everybody last week. And of course, all the great things that happened at AWT. We got to acknowledge our friend James McDonald receiving the Innovation Award. And of course, AWT was great in letting everybody know about our relationship where the Association of Water Technologies and Scaling Up H2O have combined forces, and the Scaling Up H2O podcast is the voice of the AWT. And they're making sure that I have the latest and greatest information so I can get to you so you can start planning for all the things that you're going to do, not just in AWT, but in all of industrial water treatment. And again, I got to meet so many of you last week, and thank you for everybody that came up to me with some sort of comment. Everybody was very complimentary about the podcast. I did not receive any negative feedback. Normally I always get one where somebody said, I wish you would have explained this better, or have you considered that this is another way to think about that? And I don't look at that as negative criticism. I look at that as feedback. And whenever I get feedback, it's my opportunity to get better. So if you ever have anything that you want to share about this show, or if you have a guest or a show idea, please go to scalinguph2o.com, go over to our show ideas page, and let us know what that is. As I say on just about every show, we've got lots of ideas, but eventually those are going to run out. We want to make sure that we are staying relevant to you. And the only way we can do that is to get what you want on this podcast, to interview the people that you want to hear from on this podcast. And Nation, I have to say, I received so many great papers when I was at the AWT conference. I can't wait to reach out to many of them and see if they will allow me to introduce them and interview them on this podcast. And as you know, that always works out to our benefit because a lot of these presentations are a half an hour at max. Well, our interviews run a little bit longer than that. So we're able not only to talk about the information that they had in their presentation, we can go deeper, we can go further, and the author can now share a lot of the things that they just didn't have time to share at the actual conference. So I'm looking forward to putting all that content together for you so you can drive to account and get smarter in the process. Nation, something else that happened just this week was we had our final hang of the year. So many of you were on the hang, and that was the best time to possibly have the hang. It was Thursday night. It was right after the AWT conference, and I know so many people out there were having the after AWT conference blues because you got to see your friends, you got to have great conversations, you got to be in a room and rooms with people that understood exactly what it is that you do without you having to explain it. And then you went back to your respective residences, and now you have to explain to everybody what it is that you do. Well, that was what the hang was for this week. We can reconnect conversations and relationships, and we sure did that. We made a lot of new connections. We rekindled some conference connections, and we just had a great time. So we're going to do a hang in Q1 of next year. I'll be sure to tell you all about that, and you can mark your calendars. Trust me, this is the Zoom call you want to make sure that you make because it allows you to become a better industrial water treater, because it allows you to network so easily. You never know who you're going to meet that's going to be able to solve that problem that you haven't even experienced yet. And that is all the hang is about, is how do we connect more people within this industry and bring people closer together? Because let's face it, when we're together with people that understand what it is that we do, we just have fun and we can talk about things that we just can't talk about with other people. So thank you for everybody that joined the hang, and we'll have more information on the next hang in the upcoming episodes. Nation, I always like to talk about some things that I am doing. And when I do that, I always get great feedback. Trace, we enjoy knowing more about you. So I don't know if I've ever shared this on the podcast, but I give blood every 8 weeks. It's something that I have done for a long time. And I know that there is a blood shortage out there. And I also know that most people I talk with do not donate blood. So I don't know if you know of some of the benefits for donating blood. One, the fact that you're doing that, you instantly feel good about yourself. At least I do anyway. Now, do you know that one donation of whole blood can save 3 lives? Now, I donate with the American Red Cross, and they actually send me information about my donation. They don't tell me who the blood went to. They do tell me where the blood went to, and I can actually look and see all of the different places where somebody benefited from my donation, and that is just cool. Now, some other things you might not consider is you do get a free health screening. They're going to run your blood through a bunch of diagnostics, and they're going to tell you a bunch of things about your donation. Now, people that give blood on a regular basis, studies have been shown that they have a reduced risk of heart attacks. Also, and this goes with the heart attacks, that reduces your potential for cardiovascular disease. I think both of these is because it reduces the viscosity of the blood. Now, it also helps to regulate iron levels because when you give red blood cells, you're losing iron, and it forces your body to do what it needs to do to get that back into the bloodstream. And of course, it also forces your blood to make new blood cells. And I think that's where the true health benefits are because it really rejuvenates your body. It also allows your body to turn the switch on and say, hey, I need to make something new. There's been studies that show that people that donate blood on a regular basis have lower risk for getting certain types of cancer. And the list goes on. So I don't know if you are somebody like myself that donates blood on a regular basis, and I go to the American Red Cross, but there are so many other places out there that do take donations. I know I always feel really good about it, and if even one of those health risks are reduced by giving blood, why not do that? So I also get these little cards in the mail that say how much blood that you've donated. I've donated gallons of blood. That's kind of cool to think about that, especially when you think each donation can help save 3 separate lives. So who knows? Maybe somebody is walking around today that has trace Blackmore blood in them, and they wouldn't be walking around if I didn't make that donation. So there is a shortage. If you have never given blood before, maybe go with a friend, maybe go with somebody that can support you if you're a little bit nervous. I promise it is a great thing to do, and I promise you are going to feel great after you do it. Now, a tip that I will give you is make sure you hydrate really well. I know sometimes when I first started donating, I would feel off a little bit, but when I prepare for it and drink plenty of water, not only is it easier to donate, normally it's quicker as well, but I have no symptoms, nothing happens, I don't feel any different after I do the donation. So that's Trace Blackmore's blood donation tip, is make sure you are really hydrated when you go in. Now, somebody we know is always hydrated is our friend James McDonald, and here is a brand new What Do You Know?
Hello and welcome to What Do You Know? The game show where we find out what do you know about industrial water treatment, drop by drop. So pump up your brain, take out that test kit of knowledge, and prepare to answer this week's question on What Do You Know? Today's question is, what industrial water treatment word is derived from the Greek word meaning claw? That word is chelant. Common examples include ethylene diamine, tetraacetic acid, and citric acid. Chelants are likened to a claw because they connect to a metal ion at 2 or more attachment points, creating a grip, much like a claw seizing an object. I'm James McDonald, and thanks for playing along with us. Stay tuned for next week's episode of Water You Know.
Well, thank you, James. And James, once again, congratulations on the Innovation Award. I had the honor of accepting that the previous year for this podcast. So I just think it's awesome that you and I are in the same club. So James, congratulations. Now, we were talking about the AWT earlier. I want to talk a little bit more about the AWT because maybe you missed the convention that we just had. So what are the conventions that are coming up in the future? So here you go. Mark your calendars for September 16th through 19th, 2026 in Oklahoma City. AWT is having the 2026 annual convention and expo. And if you're wondering when 2027 is, that's going to be September 8th through 11th in the Cleveland, Ohio area at the Cleveland Convention Center. So make sure you go ahead and put those dates on your calendar so you can protect those and make plans to attend in the future years. Now, one of my favorite things to do is teach water treatment for AWT, and the technical training that's coming up next is coming up in March. It's going to be March 10th through 14th in Frisco, Texas. And Nation, they're actually doing something a little bit different this year. Normally they do something in March, something in April. Well, it's going to be in March, and I think they're going to do another one in Q3. So once I get those dates, I will let you, the Scaling Up Nation, know exactly when those dates are. And the other thing they're doing different is they are offering their full range of courses at both dates. So one in this Q1 that's coming up in March and the other one in Q3. It's going to be every single course that they offer, and it's going to be at a different time of year. So maybe if you weren't able to make it because you were busy getting boilers online or offline and cooling towers online or offline, whatever it was that you were doing, now we've got a different date. Maybe it fits better in your schedule. So I hope to see you at all of those. They're my favorite things to go to. And if you're ever wondering what is coming up in the world of industrial water treatment, well, you don't need to guess that. We've got all of that laid out for you. Go to scalinguph2o.com, go over to our events page, and we will have everything you ever imagined on that events page that we know about in industrial water. Now, if there's something that is not on there, well, don't keep that to yourself. Go back to scalinguph2o.com, go over to our show ideas page and let us know what that event is. We'll go ahead and get that up there. So we want to make this the one-stop shop that you can go to learn anything about what's going on in the field of water. Well, Nation, I am excited to introduce our next guest. We had a little bit of controversy during Industrial Water Week. Some people said he hasn't been on the podcast before. And then, of course, I know he has been on the podcast before. So who am I talking about? I'm talking about Frank Lecrone. Now, Frank Lecrone has been interviewed in little small snippets at AWT conventions and other conventions. So he has been on the podcast before. You have heard his voice. So everything I said during Industrial Water Week is 100% correct. But the people out there that said, no, it's not correct because he hasn't had his own episode, I'm going to make it all right with you with this interview. Here is Frank Lecrone. My lab partner today is none other than the infamous Frank Lecrone of AquaPhoenix Scientific. Frank, welcome finally to the Scaling Up H2O podcast.
Thank you, Trace Blackmore. Super excited to be here. It's been a very long time that we've talked about it and promised each other we would spend this time together. And I'm super excited we get to do it live.
Now, Nation, what he's talking about is a long time is 8 years. I've been doing this podcast for 8 years.
That's fair.
Frank was one of the people I called because if you know Frank, you know he's just got the personality to and the face to be on a podcast. So I thought of Frank to be one of my first guests, and it's taken 8 years and a trip to his lovely home here in the Florida Keys, not complaining at all, to get this interview to the Scaling Up Nation. So Frank, thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for this amazing view that you're offering. That's totally wasted on the audience right now, by the way. Frank, I want to make sure the Scaling Up Nation knows who I am talking with, who they are listening to right now. Do you mind introducing yourself to the Scaling Up Nation?
Sure. So Frank Lecrone, president and CEO and founder of AquaPhoenix Scientific. We really focused on the industrial water treatment market. We started the company in June 13th, Friday the 13th, 2003. So lucky day, lucky time to jump on it. I love prime numbers. So June 13th was perfect for us. And we really started the company to focus on boiler cooling tower customers. And from there, just grew it and basically tried to do exactly what that market needed and wanted, and then continued to expand in the following years.
Now, I have heard this. I don't know if it's true or not, but you and one of my mentors, Bruce Kettrick Sr., met at an Olive Garden to come up with the original business plan for AquaPhoenix. Is that true?
I believe it was the diner next to the Olive Garden in York, Pennsylvania.
The Olive Garden was too fancy.
Yeah, I couldn't afford it actually at the time. And I asked Bruce if he would come and just think about a concept of starting a private label test kit company, specifically facing or focused on the industrial water treatment industry. And Bruce Sr. has been a mentor to me as well. Bruce Jr. has been a good friend. And my father back in the day was president of Taylor in the 70s. So we've had test kits in our blood for many, many years.
Frank, what was the very first memory you have when you started AquaPhoenix?
I remember going to Staples all the time because we were always out of things, whether it was pens and paper, whether it was any type of office supply, whether it was full color printers that we could finally print some labels. So early on, I just remember not having anything at my fingertips and wondering how much my credit cards could hold until they burst, which I think got up to over $120,000 at one time of credit card balance to fund the company.
Now, we're going to talk about the AquaPhoenix experience today, but that was starting out. Where are you guys now?
In regards to what?
As far as starting employees to employees now and any other information you want to share?
Starting employees, we started with Jared Goss and Matt, and we had 2 employees and me. And I did some making of chemistries as I had done in the past. I did a lot of the sales. I helped fill bottles. We did everything. So we really started the company with 3 employees. And many of the times, waiting for the phone to ring, we would play Jenga and Spider-Man Uno, I think, was another riveting game we would play. All kinds of different games to pass the time. And that was, again, with 3 employees. And then on average, I looked a while ago and we were hiring for more than a decade, about 1 person a month on average. So we have over 310 employees now. So it is a much bigger and different company, but we're staying focused on the culture and some of the factors that make us special, if you will.
Now, you're in Hanover. That's where you grew up. That's where you grew the company. Why did you decide to stay in Hanover?
Well, kids. I have 4 daughters, so they were all going to the local high school there. But yes, it's in Hanover, Pennsylvania is where we started the company. Hanover, small town near Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. And many of the reasons we were there is we could get employees pretty well. There were some big snack food companies in the area, Utz potato chips and Snyder's of Hanover pretzels. So there was a good pool of good employees and good workers. And we were able to get a very good deal on a 60-foot by 60-foot piece of industrial office / warehouse. And we started the company there.
Now, you decided you wanted to go all into the industrial water treatment industry. A lot of other companies, they sold test kits and just happened to service the industrial water treatment industry, boilers, cooling towers, stuff like the AWT market.
Right.
You said, no, we want to make sure we are fulfilling what industrial water treaters need, what people in the AWT need. That is very unique. Why did you decide to do that?
Well, there was a need. They didn't feel the AWT members all felt that they were second fiddle to many of these companies. And the good news is they still are up until AquaPhoenix. We focus, and if they want us to stock a special filtration kit or special products or a lithium chloride system sizing standardized methodology, that type of thing, we'll do things like that specific to this industry. So we have remained very focused on that industry, and it's just worked very well for us. When we were distracted by everything around us, we didn't grow nearly as well as we have focusing on one market. So it's kind of neat. Normally you have, we do everything for everybody and we grew like crazy. No, we did specifically what one market wanted, and we've done very, very well with that and grew beyond our expectations. We would always set goals. We'd crush them, and then we'd move on to set a bigger goal. We've done that dozens and dozens of times. Really a good place to be.
Well, not only did you decide to service the AWT member, but also really support the AWT. Why did you decide to really support the AWT, and what are some of the things that you do to support the AWT?
The AWT, we describe it as our big dance. It's our prom. So we're going to wear the fancy clothes and get our fancy shoes out for the big dance. Not that I really have fancy shoes, but whatever. But we decided to chase the AWT market. And then, of course, the show was a big convention for us. So from our first year of being in business, 2004, we started attending. And we were specializing in private labeling so people could see the coolest test kit, say a Pelican case. People would refer to and continue to refer to our field kits as James Bond test kits. That's badass. So James Bond, come on, we'll take that. That's awesome. So you open it up and there's some meters and a Myronell meter and a DR900 or whatever, but it's all private labeled. So if you saw our cool product in the field, you didn't know who got it to you and who supplied it. If it's a competitor's, it would have their name on it or whatever. So with private labeling, it's kind of hard to market and to get your name out there. So each year we'd grow and grow and grow, but we focused on the industrial or the AWT trade show and that organization to let people know who the heck we were. Because no matter how well we did, everyone else's, all the private labeling were names on it. So we would sponsor, and this has worked incredibly well. Here's a secret for people. We put AquaPhoenix on Titleist Pro V1 golf balls. Well, I don't golf, so I didn't know what the heck that meant. But I got some suggestions to do it, and people loved it. And then we put our name on Leathermans and our name on higher end hats. My buddy has a company, Legacy Hats, and we put logos and handed out all kinds of AquaPhoenix product that had our name and logo on it. And then people would affiliate a good quality brand with a great company. And then people would learn that AquaPhoenix was at the show and learn more about AquaPhoenix while still selling private labeled stuff that no one really knew who made them. Still, people don't know that. There are still many people out there that don't know who's making a test kit. And in many instances, it's us.
And you guys do great jobs on custom kits. I know with my firm, have called you guys saying that I want a kit that does this. And you're like, well, we don't have a kit that does that, but we're going to go figure out how to make it.
For sure. And some of the new compliances, Legionella, what is it, ST108? Is it ST108? We just make a kit that's called New York City Legionella Compliance Kit or the ST108 Compliance Kit. So we can put together custom kits for you, and depending on what your demand is, we can stock them and I can ship them same or next day for you. So we have really revolutionized quick turnaround time, that if you order something from us and we have it in stock, it's in the 98, 99% of the time it's shipped same or next day.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember the last time we've ordered something from you and didn't have it that same week.
And what's awesome is back in the day, and still, companies are saying, "Oh, well, we'll ship it to you in 3 to 5 business days." Well, everyone wants instant gratification now. Amazon has a drone delivering crap to your front porch that you don't really need. So,
Is AquaPhoenix going to do drone delivery?
no, I don't think so.
I'm on record. No, we are not doing
I don't think so. But whatever takes care of the job, right?
You mentioned the trade show, and you actually taught me how to do the best trade show. You take all the chairs out. You make sure that people are out in the hallway, not in the booth. They're bringing people into the booth. So do you mind doing a public service announcement? How should we be manning our booths when we go to trade shows?
Absolutely. And I have been described in many derogatory terms of how crazy I am about this. Brian Kotarski, who's been on your
Friend
podcast,
of show, Brian.
a super good dude. He's mowing his lawn as he listens right now. It's spring and summer, so he'll be mowing his lawn. Beautiful new baby daughter. But he and others have described it as the booth has to pop. It has to look right. All the color-coded caps have to be presentable. You don't have to look into the box to see them. But some of the big rules of our show, and this was an early show that the guy next to me had stainless steel tanks. And he and I were standing up waiting for customers when it was like 20 minutes or a half an hour before the show is going to close. And we're standing there and we're not tearing down our booth at all. We're waiting for another customer or potential customer. And he looks over at me. He was a cool dude. I forget his name. He looks over and he said, "You own the company, don't you?" Because he and I were not sitting. We're not going to stop. We're not going to start tearing down the booth when we have 20 minutes left to maybe talk to a person, give them a business card, get a potential lead. So one of the rules in our booth was no chairs. You're not as engaging if you sit down. So we sure as heck are not going to be sitting down while in the booth. You're not on your phone. You're not eating. You're not drinking. So and you don't put a big ugly mug of soda or something in front of the damn test kits that are sitting on there. I'm going to curse a little bit, sorry. But especially when I get excited. And you walk in and things are messed up. You're like, oh, no. So I was very on top of it from day one. So no sitting at any of the booths. And one of my favorite people in the industry who you honored and recently passed away, John Steele, super good dude. He was our first salesman at AquaPhoenix and was just a really good, honorable, good family man, good dude. His son sent a thank you card for all the things that you did and the recognition we did online with him in LinkedIn and such. And he said that AquaPhoenix wasn't a job; it was a family, and that's just awesome.
But speaking of John Steele, I mean, he really was somebody that would pull you into the booth and instantly make you feel like you were family. And you could tell that he loved working at AquaPhoenix. I mean, you guys were family. He brought me in his family. I always felt like I was part of AquaPhoenix. And because of the energy and I guess the rules you had around how we were going to present ourselves at a trade show, everybody is always around the AquaPhoenix booth. It's the place to be.
It's fantastic. It gives me goosebumps when you would walk in, you'd look down an aisle and there'll be a crowd of people. And I'm like, that's got to be our booth. And we'd go down and sure enough, we'd have every single person. We'd bring 12 people to that show and every person was engaged in chatting and showing people stuff. And it remains to this day. People actually are targeting booths around us to get more traffic because they're near AquaPhoenix. And it's because we try to have a good time while we're there. We try to and answer questions and really, again, it's family and friends that we're seeing. For as long as I'm physically and mentally able to go to the AWT show, I'm planning to go to the AWT show. It's where my people are. And it does me good. I will make a dig at John Steele. He was a little overweight. So when we would say the no sitting policy, he would come up and go, "Chief, you're killing me. You're killing me, Chief." Because I said, "No, you're not standing." And we would do our best to torture John Steele at every time we could.
So you all have been very successful with AWT, and I've been on the board of AWT, and people like to poke fun, whatever, of people that are successful. And something that has always struck me about you, Frank, is that has never gotten you down. If somebody has a bad word that, oh, it's not fair, they had this at their booth or something, you'll say, "Hey, how do we fix it?"
we have tons and tons of compliments and testimonials and all of that. But you're right. When you grow and you're kind of earning, we are aggressively growing. We will continue to aggressively grow. And Trace, customer service wise, if you buy something from us and I don't know, 5 years later, you say, hey, I have a problem with this. I want to return it or whatever. We'll return it. No questions, no problems. We want to make it right. And there's so many companies that don't do things like that. And we do it all day, every day. I get an email of all customer concerns that happen at AquaPhoenix. I personally get the email and can look it over and say, is that something we fixed properly? Or is that something we haven't fixed properly? So we'll screw things up from time to time. Of course, everybody does. And we certainly do. But we fix it. And we fix it quickly. And we want to make doing business with AquaPhoenix as easy as possible.
Well, and I have to say that in working with you and your team and Deb, who doesn't love Deb at customer
Everybody
service? So hopefully she hears this and hears the shout out. We had something, I think the wrong reagent was sent by accident. No big deal, but she was so apologetic. We got what we ordered the next day. And she said, Trace, if you can use what we sent you, by all means, use it on us. And she was just so polite about it. It wasn't a big deal at all, but it just made me want to order more from you.
Well, thankfully, a lot of companies have. And like I said, with our level of continuous improvement and our mindset, and I call it the voices in my head. And I have a whole incredible crew that have similar culture and similar voices, if you will. We're always looking for ways to do things better, do things faster, ship things easier, make doing business with us easier. EDI, the electronic data, electronic ordering. We do that with a bunch of our bigger accounts. I want to say, I think 30% of our orders go in electronically now, which you lose some of that personal touch, which I hate because I like talking to customers. It's awesome. But you also want it to be as simple as possible and as efficient as possible. So we're using technology every day to make that easier and better. Our new e-commerce website, for example, that exchange is getting better and better as we're tweaking that to make it more easy to use. Our old one was junk. It was terrible. But some people still used it. We had to bring it up to speed, and now it's a real good one. Katarski did that. He did that last year sometime.
So speaking of customer service excellence, again, Deb, so I grew up in Richmond, Virginia, where we had Utz potato chips. Didn't think about it. That was just what you bought. And then I moved down to Atlanta, Georgia. No Utz potato chips to be found. Well, they're one of your neighbors. Deb finds out that Stacy, my lovely bride, and I's favorite potato chip is the crab chip that has Old Bay seasoning on it. Can't get that in Atlanta. So now, whenever we order something, well, this was a long time ago, but when we were ordering something, she would use Utz crab potato chips as the packing material. It was fantastic. It was like Christmas every time we got test kits.
We always tell people, hey, if you want something custom, we'll do it. And no kidding, we had a guy in shipping, this crazy guy in shipping. He's since moved away with his wife, but someone placed an order with a note that said, I'd like a picture or I'd like a drawing of a giraffe eating a banana on the box. And I'm like, what the heck is that? And I said, what did we do with it? And the guy in shipping goes, I drew a giraffe eating a banana. What am I supposed to? And it was a good picture. The kid was an artist. It was awesome. So crazy things like that. I've had some big accounts go, what we love about AquaPhoenix is they'll take care of you, do custom things. They'll put polka dots on your kits if you need them. But we do things like that and then drive forward and then just offer great customer service. We're happy to do business. We're appreciative of people doing business with us.
Now, something you were the first to do, and I absolutely love it, and I think everybody's doing it now, was the color-coded caps. What a great idea that we're going to put like reagents in your test kit with the same color caps so we can see exactly what we're grabbing for. What a great idea.
Yeah, for the industrial water, we were first. There were some swimming pool kits that had it back in the day, but it is a pain in the butt because all of a sudden you're going from one color cap, one white cap to all of that you can come up with. But boy, did it differentiate, right? So, and the one thing that we did that I liked a lot is we put pink for phenolphthalein, used in multiple tests. And we put a pink cap on that for obvious reasons. It turns pink. So doing that extra effort, doing a QR code that you can zap and then see the video of the test kit being done. That was really, really helpful. And it used to be, oh, you have to download your QR reader app on your phone. Well, then COVID happened and menus and QR codes were hot. And now everybody knows how to use a QR code. So it's really simplified and helped advance the simplicity of our test kits.
My team will play around with me. I don't get in the field as much as I used to, but I still know my test kit, and I will just grab things out of my test kit and they'll move things around on me. And I was like, well, this isn't the right reaction. Right. What's going on here? But it makes it harder now that we've got the color-coded caps. So you mentioned the QR codes. There's the color-coded caps. You guys have the waterproof instructions, and they're of a size you can actually put in your test kit. You guys come up with wonderful ideas that help us in the field. Where do those ideas come from?
Well, Trace, I was texting just this morning to get an updated count. It still boggles my mind, but we have a continuous improvement program at AquaPhoenix. And by the way, I'm happy to show our place to if there is anyone in the North Baltimore into Pennsylvania area that would want to stop by and see our place.
Everybody should want to stop by. Make the trip. It's an amazing facility.
Make it a point. Make sure Katarski or someone's around to take you around. But we have a continuous improvement program, and it was a CSI, concerns, suggestions, and improvements. And we had these easels, these dry erase boards, if you will. They were actually 3M poster, like a big Post-it note. Well, people would write suggestions on it, put your initials, put the date, then a manager would come up and write their initials on it, and it was anything. We need another garbage can in the back left of the warehouse. We need a table. If it was a safety suggestion, you would write it in red. Since then, we have actually formalized it and formalized our continuous improvement program. And the team now we have Kyle, who is in charge of it and basically collects, and we have a QR code you can scan. It takes you to a form that you can put in your request. We have had, and Bobby Joe, who's our general manager there, said we average about 600 suggestions per year. 600 suggestions, and implement about 75% of them. So do the math over the course of the years that we're putting in hundreds and hundreds and quickly thousands of suggestions, some of which are absolutely phenomenal, good suggestions. And some of them are, hey, move the garbage can 5 feet to the right because I can't get the cart past it, or whatever the heck, you know what I mean? But having that mindset of always trying to be improved has helped us enormously. There are so many companies out there, and I've witnessed them, I've been through them, I've toured them, that are like, oh, we do it this way, and this is the way to do. But a Toyota Way, or The Goal, that Theory of Constraints movie, or book, I should say, or Good to Great. You know, some of these books are just incredible. What's the difference between a good company and a great company? And the great companies are ones that are flexible enough to improve and push hard and aren't, I already perfected that. You don't perfect it. You only make it a little bit better. You only get some continuous improvement in there. And the one story I want to share, because it involves some cool people at AquaPhoenix and it involves me looking like a dum-dum, which is exciting to tell these stories, is we pride ourselves in very quick order turnaround time and facilitating rush orders, quick, like order same day, it needs to ship today, whether it's priority shipment or whether it's just has to ship today to get someplace. And I wanted to bring better attention to these in the plant, but I had it that there was a little bin for these orders, and then you had a little light switch above it, and you would flip it on, and a little red light. I got an electrician to install on the wall that it was like a bat signal, but it was a red light that would light up on the wall, and I was like, "Oh, this is awesome! Look at our prioritizing rush orders," and I was so excited. This has got to be 10 plus years ago, maybe 15 years ago, a long time ago. So here's this red light. It's showing it's a rush order. Oh, what a priority for this. Isn't this awesome? Well, Donna Harlacher, who was one of my label makers and had been with the company for a long time, I think she used to babysit me when I was in 4-H, when I was a wee lad. But when the light was on, she goes, "Frankie?" I said, "Yes." She goes, well, I get the orders because I have to print the labels for them. Why don't I just get on the intercom system and say, whoever's in charge of them today, say, hey, Susie, rush order. And then she'll hear it because she could be not facing the red light and she might not see it for a half an hour if she's in the middle of the job. And I looked at her, I said, Donna, that's a fantastic idea. Let's take this stupid red light down now. So the light was on maybe 2 weeks at most. And then we took it down. And every time I'm walking around the plant and I hear, Mary, rush order, then I think about that and think about Donna and think about everyone laughing, going, nice idea, Frank. But what a perfect example is the owner and the CEO comes up with this idea. Normally people would be like, oh, that's his idea. That's the best way we can do it. Just do it that way. But no, the culture at AquaPhoenix is, how can we do it better? Let's try it. And worst case scenario, we'll go back to the old way, but at least we're trying to make it better.
And the reason that works is because of your culture. I've been at your plant. I've seen your culture. I know a lot of your people. It's the culture of AquaPhoenix that makes all of these things possible. And the foundation of that is your core values. Do you mind sharing those with the Scaling Up Nation?
Oh, sure. Core value wise, I mean, one of the big ones for us is do the right thing. That's one of the group of core values. Wow the employee and the customer. So what does that mean exactly? Well,
that means you put crab potato chips in as packing material.
You draw a giraffe with a banana sometimes. It's weird, but hey, that's what we do. So wowing the customer, focused on continuous improvement, many core values that we really are intentional about them. We differentiate with them. We use them to earn a ton of business. And we've had companies come through, some very, very large companies come through our place to give us an audit with like a 2 days notice. And they said, how did you get it this clean? And I said, this is tour ready. I didn't come back here and, bang 2 pots together and say, we got a customer coming tomorrow. We just get it done and it's tour ready every day. Henry Bashinsky, my old VP of operations, believed in that as well, that it's not a big customer or we have an audit or any of that. The ISO 9000 audit tomorrow. Oh, crap, clean up. No, we don't do that. It's cleaned up every day and looking really well. And I've been in a lot of my competitors. I've been in a lot of other plants, and I'm very proud of the way we run our place. Some big auditing companies have told us we're in the top 1% of companies they've ever audited. So again, we bring people there, and people order more stuff from us.
One of my favorite core values you have is GAS, which stands for Give Us Stuff. And one of my favorite AquaPhoenix memories, I came up to visit you guys. You might have been in your older facility, I think. And there was an older lady, clearly in her 70s, and she was wearing this T-shirt that says, I've got gas.
I've got gas at AquaPhoenix. Yes. GAS stands for give a shit. And we look at it and go, do you really care? As a whole team, is this person, or whether it's an employee, whether it's a vendor, whether it's a customer, we want to do people with, and we want to inspire people to care about things. And we want to inspire people to take it seriously and lean forward, work a little harder, try a little more. I am not kidding you, Trace. If we do continuous improvements a couple times, some big events and some big process, there are sections of our company that will raise their hand. Why haven't you come over to my area and done us? Well, basically, continuous improvement is change. It's ripping all your stuff out of and changing the whole way you do business. A lot of people don't like that. At AquaPhoenix, we actually strive and want that. Our employees are demanding it. I notice it even more when we go and we acquire some companies, because we have been acquiring companies pretty aggressively since the day we were founded. We have acquired 11 companies in 22 years. So a decent amount, some very small, some decent sized, and their cultures it's basically, we move more quickly than other companies. If we say we're going to get something done, let's get it done and complete it. So that's part of the, I think, differentiation of AquaPhoenix and why we've been decently successful.
So you acquire a new company, their employees become part of your team. They're not used to the culture that you have. How do you make sure that they have a good transition? Because I imagine they're probably suspicious when they see things like AquaPhoenix does, because we didn't do it this way and now they're doing something different. How do you make sure everybody's on board?
Right. A huge challenge. The big culture dilemma, whether it was Compaq and Hewlett Packard, I think was one of the formal studies of different cultures and how they collide. They don't just tie in and figure it out. They kind of collide. And we've run into some companies that people have asked us to slow down. People have said, why do you think that it's wrong? Or one of my favorite questions when we acquire a company and we give a speech and they're there and they say, am I going to get fired? And then I usually get a lower voice and I say, well, what did you do? And I love that. And then their eyes get big. They're like, I didn't do anything. I go, well, then why the hell would I fire you? I need you more than anything. Of course, you're the team that we have. So it takes a ton of communication. It takes a ton of trust. And the lack of information is almost always interpreted negatively. That's one of my quotes. I always say that. Katarski will roll his eyes because he heard it 100 times, Jared as well. But the lack of information is almost always interpreted negatively, which means you have to over-communicate and over-communicate. And what is it? Who came up with you have to have someone do something 7 times before they have to learn how to do it?
I heard it from Truett Cathy of Chick-fil-A. I'm not sure if he was the one that came up with it.
Okay, right. But so you have to tell someone 7 times in order to get them to really buy in and do it. Well, that's 7 times. Who's hitting someone that often with it? Very rare. So there's going to be that lack of communication. They're going to interpret it negatively. They're going to be suspicious of what the agenda is. But then I can show our track record of, well, all the guys in Los Angeles and Orange County are there. All the guys in Fort Worth, Texas are there. All the guys in Virginia are there. We just bought LMK, a reagent company in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. They're all there. We're cleaning up the warehouse, spending tons of money, and preparing for growth. That's what we've done really well with, which is organize things, get everybody on the same page, satisfy the heck out of the customer, basically do things that other vendors and suppliers would not do with our flexibility and our quick turnaround time and our breadth of offering. We offer darn near everything anybody needs in an industrial setting. So that's what we've been doing.
Frank, a few years ago, you decided to take on a partner. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. So I was always thinking that I wouldn't even look at that until my mid to late 50s, which I'm getting closer, but I'm not in my mid 50s. Well, I don't know. I turned 54 in a couple months, so I'm getting older. But I didn't think I would be thinking about it. But then a couple of our competitors came up for sale. And I'm like, oh boy, well, where am I going to get cash to buy all these decent sized, nice sized competitors? And I decided just to look at some private equity opportunities, some private equity partners. And private equity has a pretty bad reputation, deserved at times, but undeserved with some. And private equity, I started talking to them. Of course, there are a bunch of companies here that, the market has really changed because people are grouping together. People are getting bigger with private equity. Well, I talked to them. I got some recommendations and started talking to them and basically thought, wouldn't it be nice to be able to write an enormous check to acquire a company and I don't have to personally guarantee it anymore? That would be novel. So I got partnered with a private equity company so they could write a check for Chemetrix and other companies that were coming up. And we've acquired, I guess, 4 companies so far with them, 5 companies so far with them. And now they're writing the check. They've brought a level of professionalism to us that we didn't have before, maturity, if you will, of a CFO, a C-suite, a chief operations officer. They have been very helpful in saying, well, what do you need to be to get to that next big level and that next big level? Because with 300 people, we have a lot going on. We have a lot of different things going on and we're growing like crazy. So, and still servicing customers like a small company. So it's kind of a challenge. One of our big things is live people answer our phones. Live, knowledgeable people, dare I say. So when we don't put you in voicemail, click number 7 to go to the accounts payable or whatever. We don't do any of that. I hate it when I make phone calls. So I figure people ask, when is that going to go away? And I said, well, maybe when I die, because I hate it. I love when live people answer the phone and can actually help you. So I have an equity partner. So if anybody has any questions about private equity and my story in detail, I would happily share that. that. I've had a very wonderful experience with it, but I got to pick a good partner. It's Incline Equity out of Pittsburgh. They're some of the best, and when you talk to private equity, they're one of the leaders. So I would recommend you focus on getting some referrals, making sure that if you have a really good company, you should make sure you get a really good private equity partner.
Now, Frank, you grew AquaPhoenix to what it is today, and now you've got a partner that's got a very large voice. How do you now work with a partner like that when it was 100% your ideas, and now you've got to sometimes ask, can we do this?
Well, absolutely. 99 times out of 100, I agree with their suggestions and what they're doing. And the few times that it's not in detriment of the company. It's just they have a different mindset or a different experience. I do not have an MBA and some of the education of running a huge company. However, I kind of have an MBA from being in business for 30 years and doing it and leading companies and being successful at it. So I keep an open mind about it. And you don't want to be the smartest guy in the room. You just don't. So I want to surround myself with people with great opinions and great ideas. And then you cultivate that. I always say that if our goal is to get to 10 and I can do next to nothing and my team will get me to 8, and then I have to engage and push a little bit more, I just got 80% of what I wanted done without me messing anything up. And it's their idea. Empower them. Let them drive the idea forward. And that has just worked incredibly well for us. Now, to push it over the line, to tweak it, I'm sure there's some nuance and things that I will add. And I've had a few people go, Frank, why don't we just do voicemail? It'd be a lot easier. And I go, absolutely not. We're not going to do that. And again, it wasn't to make it a less of an experience. It would just simplify some things to have a computer answer your phones instead of a person. And then, everybody that rings over here is wanting to buy something. Everybody over here wants to dispute a bill. Well, the customer doesn't want to have to push buttons in order to tell what kind of person, at least in my old school opinion.
All right, Scaling Up Nation, it's time for a word from one of our sponsors. Today's episode is proudly sponsored by Metaspec, the new name for Pacific Sensor. While the name has changed, there's the same trusted partner you've relied on for decades. Metaspec supplies corrosion coupons, racks, holders, LPR electrodes, and corrosion coupon analysis. Everything you need to monitor corrosion in water treatment. Both their Texas facilities in San Antonio and Dallas are ISO 9001 certified, and their corrosion coupon lab is the only ISO 17025 accredited corrosion coupon lab in the world. They're also the only manufacturer using OCR camera technology to tie every coupon ID to its weight, ensuring precise and verifiable results. Every Metaspec product is proudly made in the United States of America. Ready to simplify your corrosion monitoring? Visit scalinguph2o.com/Metaspec and put Metaspec to work for you. Once again, that's scalinguph2o.com/Metaspec. Metaspec, precision, speed, confidence. Scaling Up Nation, we have some of the most amazing sponsors. Now, back to the interview. Frank, a lot of people listening today are getting to the point where they need to find what to do next with their company. You've acquired several companies. You could probably teach a class on acquisitions, but if somebody is thinking, I'm getting ready to go to the second chapter of what my business is, what do you recommend they do?
Thank you for the compliment. We have acquired a bunch of companies and we are good at it. We are good at bringing them into the fold and onboarding them. And Jared has done it from time to time. Mitch is now doing that with La Marque down in Baton Rouge. And what I would recommend to someone who's thinking about what do I want to be when I grow up, that's how I describe it. But I would say talk to someone who's done it, get referrals and references, and also clarify how much work do you want to do? What do you want your role to be? Some people just want to get out and run away and not ever think about the business again. I am certainly not one of those people. I want to continue to engage and be a part of it. Some people want to work a little. Some people want to work a lot. Business development, just go into sales or just go into accounting or whatever. So we've had the whole gamut of people wanting to do different things. But I also have found that when someone gets a big check, there are times they don't, they want to go to Florida or they want to hang out. They don't want to work quite as much. So it all depends on the person and depends on what they're trying to do. But the biggest thing, Trace, is talk to somebody who's done it or talk to somebody that is trustworthy to give you some opinions, but it's all up to the founder of the company. It really is. And most of the founders will struggle in, oh, now you're working for someone else, or here's the expense report you have to fill out that you didn't. That's a pain in the butt. So sometimes that's a challenge. But overall, you don't have the HR headache or nightmare. So that can be some of the improvement of the role. But really talking to someone and figuring out what you want to do. Have your 5 pillars of, I want to do this, I want to do that. I don't want to do, just as important what you don't want to do, and then try to stand behind it and do that.
You mentioned earlier that you love a room where you're not the smartest person in the room. I think for some listeners, that might be a new concept. But how do you ensure that you're in a bunch of rooms where you're learning from people? Because you've done a fantastic job with that.
Yeah, well, back in the day, I was a member of a business group called Vistage. I've been a part of your group. I've been a part of YPO. And basically, you're hanging around people. And I always view leaders of companies, either they're operational or they're financial leaders or they're sales leaders. Of someone that's better at sales, I would put myself in the sales and operations side of things. I'm not the finance. I'm not real great with finance, but I viewed everything as fixed with top line growth. So getting into a room that not being the smartest is make good hires, make great hires, get people inspired to give ideas to improve. I've been a part of the business groups that I mentioned earlier, the YPOs, the Vistage and everything, but and that was a really good way to see how differently companies can be run. They can run all kinds of different ways. And I've evolved as a CEO as well with, I don't know, up until around 10 million or 15 million of sales, I could keep my thumb on darn near every order, every purchase order, every customer. I knew the top 10 customers within probably $5,000 of where they were at each month. I mean, we were on it, just making sure people were buying more stuff from us. Oh, hey, buy Cometric stuff from us. Oh, hey, buy test strips. Hey, buy SteriPens from us, whatever, all kinds of stuff. But we have grown and grown. And then I could keep my finger on less and less, and things are squirting out. The tighter you squeeze your hand, the more mud squirts out. And once you get to 20 or 25 or 50 or 75 million, you all of a sudden are like, oh crap, I can't control all of this. So now I have to disengage and not try to be the operational expert or even the sales expert or even the acquisition expert. So what I had to do is give up control of a lot of aspects of the company and trust my team to do it, and recognize they were better at a lot of these things than I was. So thereby, I'm not the smartest guy in operations anymore. I have a whole team that does that. Bobby Joe and Mitch and Jeff Guyman and everyone are crushing it and running the place very, very well. So you have to let go once you get to a certain size and surround yourself with people that are doing things more successfully than you are. You don't want to hang around somebody that can't save any money and always their car's always breaking down because that's 400,000 miles or something like that. Surround yourself with really good people, ass kickers, I call them. So do that.
Frank, with so many people trying to figure out what the next chapter is, how do they figure out what a good value is for their company?
That's a fun question, Trace, because I've heard all kinds of things. Oh, in my industry, it's triple sales or double sales or whatever, assets times whatever. And what I have found with private equity and all these companies that are acquiring all the time, and from everything that I've done, it's a multiple of EBITDA. It's a multiple of earnings. It's profit, basically. So the more profitable your company is, the higher number of multiples people will assign to it, because then they can make it even more profitable or fold that into their company.
Frank, if somebody listening today doesn't know the term EBITDA, what is that?
EBITDA is the profit that your company makes, defined properly. It's the earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. So talk to your accountant to confirm what your EBITDA is. And what I have found is it's a multiple of EBITDA. When I was talking about doing private equity and picking a partner, one of the references that was given to me was an English gentleman. He was getting one of his daughters married in Hawaii, I believe, at the time. And he was talking to me while having a cocktail by the pool. And he said, and I don't have an English accent to fake, which would be a lot cooler sounding. But he said, Frank, if there's a piece of advice I can give you, again,
Yeah, that's not very good English accent, but it's
horrible.
okay.
It's horrible. I don't have an accent.
I say tally-ho, pip-pip, or something like that.
But he said, if I can help you with one thing. I said, yes, sir. What can you help me with? He goes, EBITDA equals freedom. And I was like, all right, I think I get that. So the more EBITDA you have, the less the private equity guys will mess with you. But in all of business, profit equals freedom. Now you have to pay tax on this profit. So many of the business owners want to depress that or keep that as low as possible. And they don't want to pay more tax and they want to manage that somehow. But EBITDA is that earnings impact. And then when companies come to acquire you, they look at how much money do you make? And I'll give you a certain multiple of. So there's a certain times EBITDA. You take your EBITDA, multiply it by a certain way. And the water industry is more valuable than ever right now. Water is hot. Water is sexy. As stupid as that sounds, right? So when is water not
is sexy?
You bet it is. Exactly. And I saw NACE had a number that was $2.5 trillion are lost to corrosion each year. I mean, how awesome is that? 2.5 trillion. You can't even really think about that number. It's so stupidly big. So that's our industry and that's what we support. But I feel we haven't marketed that or we haven't exploited that as best we can to say, look how awesome this industry. One of the things I want to do is drive this industry and help people recognize and get some talking points on, hey, look, industrial water treatment, Legionella prevention, ST108 prevention, all of these things that we're doing great. Tell more people about it because it's a very important industry, niche industry, but very, very important.
Frank, I've had the privilege to work with a lot of water treatment companies coming in, facilitating their meetings. And in that, I've seen some of their books and been able to give them advice. But this is where this question comes from. One of the great things about having a water treatment company is you're able to put some extra assets within the company. Maybe they pay for your car, maybe they pay for something else that you have. You've been through the private equity experience. How do they look at things like that?
Right. Great question. Because if your house is right next to your business and they're mowing the lawn and they just mow the whole thing and you expense it through the company or things like that. Or your daughter is the marketing executive so you can have a car that she uses at college, for example. Not really a marketing executive, whatever. Things like that. They've seen all of that. Those are called EBITDA add backs. So it's basically if one I heard about recently was a business that would go and rent a tent at the Masters, the golf tournament. And it was like $100,000. And then the company that was coming in to buy them went, why do you do this? And the owner said, because I want to. And fair. And he said, okay, we're not going to do that if we buy your company. Well, you can do whatever you want, but then they add it back. So all of a sudden that 100,000 is profit because it didn't go to the master's tent. So some of the things that business owners are doing, which are many, many things, whether you're paying yourself above market rent, below market rent, whatever, that is an adjustment that you do to kind of equilibrate that if you weren't running it and your 3 cousins weren't on the payroll or your uncle or your mom or your dad or something like that, then you can add those back to EBITDA and that would be profit that you would then get paid for in an acquisition.
Frank, you've been able to share so many things about AquaPhoenix's success. If you could boil it down to one thing, what would you attribute AquaPhoenix's success with?
Good question. And I am not a great mentor of, here are the 3 steps to our success. This is how we do it. Hey, Katarski, and Katarski has blasted me a number of times. He's like, well, what is it exactly that I should do to be successful at anything. And I don't know, keep working, be diligent, be honest, be straightforward, that type of thing. But I think the biggest thing we've done is just be open-minded and diligent of improvement and taking care of the customer. We just really appreciate where we are. We are from initial goals. I set a goal of getting to a $10 million company, and we're well past 10 times that now. We're crushing it. We're doing really, really well. And the appreciation that I have in the industry and the customers and our employees is just huge. And our expectations are just higher. When we acquire another company, they say, wow, you're a lot faster. Or if someone leaves our company, they say, I'm bored. We're not as engaged and involved as AquaPhoenix. And I know this is going to sound a little sappy, and I challenge anybody to see us not doing this. We give a darn. We have gas. We care. And if we can make it right and do it better, we absolutely will. We continue to finish. We're close to finishing and getting Aliquot, the e-service upgrade, up and running. We had some issues with some of the teams we picked and some of the ways it was going. It was going crappy. And then we finally stopped and redid and hired a new VP of technology, and things are working much, much better. But people that know AquaPhoenix and know me know that it's going to get right. And then we're going to make it better and better. And I'm not going to sit back and say, I haven't done this. We didn't need to do a darn thing for 10 years. No, we get, hundreds of suggestions a month because we want them and because we demand them. So if you like what we're doing now, or if you don't, keep watching. We're going to do new things and better things. And I just really appreciate the opportunity to show people that we're doing. And then ultimately we form a business relationship. And then very quickly, as you know, Trace, and dozens and hundreds of other people, we get a friendship. And I enjoy that just as much, if not more.
I as well. Well, Frank, hopefully you've got a good crystal ball. What do you see the future of industrial water treatment being?
Well, we certainly are focused in it. And the automation, the inline process equipment and such, I was surprised to hear that the estimate is that only 20% of people or 20% of controllers have remote access. Then you and I talked, and about 20% of what you're doing has remote access. And you think about it and say, if we could save a service trip, we could save it and go once every 2 months, once every 3 months, because you have all the data. You still need to run pinks and blues to confirm that, of course. But I think there's going to be more online access. I think there's going to be more modems sending data back to controllers and software like Aliquot. I think there's going to be more acknowledgement because Legionella was hot and heavy and great, and everybody cared about it until COVID happened. And then no one really cared about Legionella as much. You got distracted by that. And we're kind of coming back into that where people will address it more. You certainly don't want anything to happen or have an outbreak, but there will be. My best friend in high school, his dad got Legionella from a humidifier that he ran in his house. And he's an old school orthopedic surgeon. And I just washed it out with a little bleach, Frank. He had spent a bunch of time in the hospital recovering, but I just cleaned it out with some bleach. It's fine. He didn't throw it away, is my point. I was like, I would have thrown that the hell right away. It's crazy. But great man. So I see the industry, I see a ton of technology opportunities, which is why we really are focusing that and driving that. And then I just see improvement as the younger generations come. Some of the up and comers at AWT are just so impressive. They're doing good work, man. You and I are, this 50 word is right in there. And some of these guys in their 20s and 30s are really moving the ball and taking care of business. It's awesome. So I'm excited to watch and help and invest. I plan on staying involved and engaged in AWT for as long as they'll have me.
Frank, as somebody that knows this industry, what advice would you give to somebody that just happened along this podcast? It's the first time they've ever heard of this industry. What would you tell them?
It's a fantastic industry. again, we brought up the $2.5 trillion of corrosion that is lost a year. The efficiencies, I don't know, do you have numbers of how much money that in fuel efficiency and energy that we're saving in this industry? They have to be stupid high.
I don't have any that I can pull from, but somebody should.
Someone should. Right,
Yes.
right. How much fuel are we saving? How much gas are we saving? Whatever. How much are we preventing with scale, with softening this water and all of these different energy efficiencies that we can improve? We've been doing this stuff for decades, and it's who is this guy? What are they doing? So I think someone just finding this podcast and learning it, it's a fantastic technical industry that really makes a difference, and nobody really notices. And that's okay, because we do, and we know what's going on. So it's greatly important.
Well, you mentioned this earlier. We don't talk about it enough.
Yes, right. And James, he always is talking about what his kids asking, what is it that you do? What do you do, Dad? And he does all kinds of different things, So he makes me think about the recognition of the industry. And many people have never heard of Nalco or any of some of these bigger multi-billion-dollar companies. So it's quite an opportunity to make a great living and have a great company, as you know. And it should be flattering that private equity is beating the heck out of the market, because yes, they're trying to make money, they're trying to partner. Their goal is to grow things and sell them for more than they bought them for. It's as simple as it gets. And they're doing that to this industry because there's a bunch of growth potential. And the industry is solid, predictable, repeatable, measured, and they can make an investment, dump a bunch of money into it, and then continue to grow.
Pour gas on the fire.
Pour gas on the fire. We talk about AquaPhoenix being a sports car, and we want to put new tires on it so we can go around the corners faster. We want to put a bigger engine in it. And sometimes you skirt out of the line a little bit. You maybe went a little too fast there. I didn't have enough inventory, or read that the gold theory of constraints. You might do some things that get you out of your safety zone. I always talk about businesses like you're standing up in a bathtub and it starts filling up and everything's good, rock and roll. If the bath keeps filling up, goes past your knees, goes past your waist, gets up higher and higher and higher. Well, right below your bottom lip is where you have to worry about the water level. And then right up to your nose. So everything's fine until that constraint, that bottleneck hits you, and it's when you're underwater. And it comes quickly. And you had all the time from your toes to your nose, toes to your lips, whatever, that you could have done something a little better. And I think AquaPhoenix does a great job of saying, oh crap, the water's at my knees. Don't have to worry about for a while, but let's do it now. And that's part of what I would recommend with these guys of be proactive and recognize that this is a great industry.
Same question, but now somebody's been in the industry for tens of years. What advice do you have for them?
Well, simply be open-minded and be flexible. Everything is different, and I've heard people arguing over solving a problem slightly differently and then thinking it was a bad thing, when both ideas solved the problem or made the problem better, and my way is better. There are 100 different ways to do things. Be open-minded. Now, one might be a little bit better, one might be a little bit worse, but I have found without anger, I'm certainly a very competitive person and want to win, but I've always found that there are times people kind of get stuck in the mud and aren't as flexible as they could be, and then in turn don't see a lot of the forest because they're, oh no, you have to run over here, you only do this. And we have found that with some flexibility, with some understanding, with digging in, we've gotten to places that we never thought we would be. And some of the people, I describe it as this. In many companies, you set your goal as, I'm going to get to $5 million. I'm just picking this number out of the air. Once you get to 5, you then go home, sit on the couch, and start watching Hogan's Heroes. I don't know, Hogan's Heroes is the first thing that popped up. Reruns of
I believe that's a very current episode or show you're referring to.
That's an old, that shows my age. They were reruns when I was little, and I used to laugh at them. But anyway, whether it's Seinfeld or Beavis and Butthead, let's use that. But
I still don't think you've come out of the 90s, Frank.
I don't know what the hell they're watching. But the deal is they meet their goal. They never set another goal. And I would tell a tenured, successful person, try to double it. Whatever you were doing, do more. And there's so many people that it's that mindset that your tenacity turns off once you meet a certain goal. And I have looked at a bunch of companies and their CAGR, their combined average growth rate, is like 4% or 3%, and their price increase is 3 or 4%. So that's not any growth. That's just, oh, okay, I'm happy. I'm just sitting here. No big deal. Our combined average growth rate is 19%. So we're slaying dragons. We're pushing it ahead. We're trying to grow like crazy and do a fantastic job and build new partners. So that's and I don't want to say complacency, but that is somewhat what it is. People just get satisfied, and maybe that's where you want to be. Most people don't want to have all the headaches I have, not actual headaches, but I'm talking, strange phone calls or people like, oh, what about this problem? I'm like, all right, let's work through it this way. It's what I do. It's what I love doing.
You were telling me a story earlier where somebody called you on a Sunday to complain, and you, of course, handled everything fine. But the impressive part that I heard on that story is you answered a customer's phone call on a Sunday.
I answer my phone. I answer my phone, and if someone calls me and all these sales calls you get, all the crap junk calls you get, I answer most of them unless it says spam or whatever on. But I answer it, and then they start pitching some sales call. And what I found works really well is I say, I'm sorry, I don't take sales calls on this line. And I've done that dozens and dozens of times, and they stammer and they stop.
That's not in my script.
Right. And then one person ever goes, well, what line do you take sales calls? And I say, I don't have one. Thank you for your call. And then they hang up. But whenever I answer spam calls, which is darn near every day, I just say, I'm sorry, I don't take sales calls on this number. It works like a charm.
Reminds me of that movie Boiler Room.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
That's a horrible sales call. This is how you should do the sales call.
Yes.
Frank, you and I got the privilege of serving on the AWT board together. So why did you decide that you wanted to serve AWT in that manner?
First of all, I respect and love the organization. It's a great organization. It's become more and more collaborative in the 20-some years that I've been doing this with and been so close to AWT. 20 years ago, people were a little more guarded and a little bit, well, if I share any good idea, then my competition is going to get better. Well, maybe, but then you should get more ideas and better ideas and so on. And the organization, like I said, I feel is much more collaborative. I was proud and excited to join the board as a supplier representative to better learn what AWT members wanted and to better facilitate how they were served and how our supplier group could sell more and engage more and partner more with the AWT membership. Also, I enjoyed talking about how the AWT is being represented and how the training was happening. So I do like the idea of us all getting together, and whether it's conflict resolution, whether it's camaraderie, whether it's any of these things that is work that I wanted AWT to be better and better. I believe that a rising tide raises all ships. I love that. The mastermind and everything we talks about that it's let's all do better together. So I was proud to be a part of it. I was a crappy board member. My father unfortunately passed away from pancreatic cancer during that time. So I think I missed 2 board meetings, which is unheard. You can't do that. That's just silly. But I hung out with my dad and held his hand when he passed away. Right decision. So for sure. But that's why I was part of the AWT. Proud to be part of that organization and proud to represent it so well.
If somebody listening has never heard of AquaPhoenix, what should they do?
If they haven't heard of AquaPhoenix, of course, check out the website, do all of that. If they're in this industry, take a look at what we're doing. We've been recognized by AWT as Supplier of the Year. We were the first company, and this was I was super proud of this and humbled.
Do you remember your acceptance speech?
My second one? My first one.
I think it was your first one.
My first one sucked. It was so terrible.
You gave out your cell phone number.
I did. I think I'm
you
not
said,
giving out
hey, we're here because we want to do better and we want to learn. So if you got anything to tell me, here's my cell phone number.
And I believe Lukanich texted me something absurd after that. Jim Lukanich, who's the best. But yes, that first one, I am really good at taking criticism and people like challenging me. I'm good at that. But to get awards and accolades, I just get really uncomfortable. And I went up to give that speech and I prepared a couple things. And I was so nervous and stammering, and everyone thought I would be fine because everything else I'm fine. But to take accolades, I did a little bit better. And we are the first company to ever get the Supplier of the Year twice for AWT. So that's awesome. We're really proud of that. We got it last year, winning the award for the first time twice. And that speech, I think I did a little bit better. But yes, the first one was very unnerving and awkward. 2 years ago, or last year, I should say, I got E&Y, Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year out of the Philly area. We got that accolade, or we, mean AquaPhoenix, whatever. But it's super cool to get some of these accolades on top of having a successful company, and more importantly, on top of having such great employees and a great customer base. That's what, I wake up every morning and go, what good is going to happen today? And it's badass. It's a good attitude to have.
I love it.
Yep. Good stuff.
All right, Frank. Well, it's now time for the lightning round. Are you ready?
I is ready.
All right.
I be ready. My mom's an English teacher, so
we can tell.
Anytime I use incorrect language or English, I always correct people. I am a typo or edit crazy person. When Kotarski can't spell worth a damn, by the way. He's a horrible speller. And I'm always correcting his stuff. And then always there's a typo in some of our marketing stuff, and I catch it and I get to yell at Kotarski. I'm like, what is going on here? And he's like, oh God, no. But go ahead.
Brian's mowing his grass right now. He's like, shut up, Frank. All right.
Best.
These are questions I ask of all of my guests. So question number one, if you had the ability to go back in time and talk to your former self on your very first day starting AquaPhoenix, what advice would you give yourself?
Looking back, Trace, I would say, do what you're doing. It's going to work out nicely for you. It certainly exceeded my expectations, and I'm super proud. And I pinch myself when I get in the driveway in the parking lot of AquaPhoenix. I just look up and see this, really great building and a great facility. But I think it would be of empower others faster and sooner. I think I'm doing it better now, but the joke is, don't go to Frank with problems, because there'll be your problems pretty quickly. I say, hey, all right, fix it, Jared. If you say these 5 things are a problem. So I think I would say right out of the gate, be a little more empowering, a little more patient, because I was always running and always chasing. And I think with a little more empowerment, other people could have helped with that a little sooner. I kind of ran the show for the first 5 years, 6, 7 years, something like that. And having other people help you to do that is a big, big improvement of a one-person band, if you will.
What are the last few books that you've read?
Oh, boy. I've read all the Jack Carr books, my Navy SEAL buddy who spoke at the AWT show in San Diego years ago.
How'd you meet him, Frank?
I met him through YPO, that young professional organization, young presidents organization. I was on the fishing and hunting chat, and someone said, would you like to come out, and it's a benefit for a special needs kid, and would you like to come out and train and shoot and do an event with a bunch of Navy SEALs, and bring your own guns and come out to I believe it was Nevada or someplace, and we did a shooting event, and then we did about 6 of those, one each year, and I just befriended the guys, and a bunch of really cool guys. So I've met Jocko, I've met Mark Owen, the guy that did the No Easy Day. I've had dinner with him a couple times, and Jack Carr has become a dear friend of mine, really super good dude. So that would be one of the books that I've read, that Terminal List book. I've also read all the Lee Child stuff, Jack Reacher, the Michael Conley. I read kind of action adventure stuff. I need to reread Good to Great, that Jim Collins. It's just a really cool book, and it's how did you do better than someone else, company-wise? How did one company do better? With what specifically data-driven stuff did you use and utilize that made you to be longer lasting and better? Some of those companies aren't performing quite as well, because it's kind of magic. You got to keep it up. It's not like I describe it as a snowball rolling down the hill. Okay, it's rolling. It's got momentum. It's rolling. But eventually that hill is going to change. And I like to talk about with AquaPhoenix, we have a snowball rolling down the hill that we're pushing the heck out of. That's awesome. So those are some of the books that I've more recently read.
Frank, when Hollywood hears about your life, who do you want playing the role of Frank Lecrone?
I just laugh because this is one of those things that's not going to happen. But I would have to say, because of his inappropriate humor and sometimes outdoorsy, rugged person, because I climbed mountains. I've done all kinds of cool outdoorsy stuff. But Chris Pratt, and he's also playing James Reese in Jack Carr's books. Stories. So I would say Chris Pratt, just because he's funny as heck. I've gotten some personal videos for him to get my brother to get well and things like that. But Chris Pratt is pretty funny, and I think he would do a good job.
I never asked myself to answer this question, but I'd say Matt Damon.
Oh God, yeah, that's funny as well. A couple of people say I look. Oh, do you ever been told you look like a movie star? And I said, yeah, I get Denzel Washington all the time.
All right. Question number 4. You now have the ability to talk to anybody throughout history. Who would it be with and why?
Well, I'll get a little sappy here, but I would like to go back and talk to my father about a lot of things. He passed 10 years ago. Like I said, pancreatic cancer. He passed pretty quickly, and he had a wealth of information on many, many things. And I wish I would have grilled more information out of him, because he wasn't one to share. He wasn't chatty. It would be something that I would have to pull out of him. And then also my little brother, who passed away 3 years ago of a heart transplant, just was born with a heart problem, and he lived to 48 years old and was an awesome, awesome kid. So an awesome man, I guess I have to say, as a little brother. So I'm going to keep that in the family and say I just had such a good experience learning things from my dad as I mature. And in this last 10 years, we would have a much more thoughtful conversation, and he would just be amazed at where we are selling test kits and meters and things like that.
Frank, this interview was 8 years in the making. Is it going to take 8 years to get you back?
I don't know. Maybe it'll we'll have to see. Not that I don't enjoy it, but like I said, talking about myself, I'm like, but talking about AquaPhoenix and the employees and the customers and AWT is easy. Again, I thank you, Trace, for coming down to Florida to hang with me and sitting at this table and doing it live is exciting.
Well, it was an honor to come down here, and thank you for sharing your home with me and my family. We've had a great time since we've been here, and this interview was definitely worth 8 years. Thank you for coming on the Scaling Up H2O podcast.
Thank you, Trace. You rock.
Scaling Up Nation, I love hanging out with Frank Lecrone. I've known Frank Lecrone forever through AWT. He is just an amazing person, one of the most friendliest people in AWT. And AquaPhoenix is one of my favorite companies to work with. And it's because of what Frank makes that company be each and every day, how he inspires his team. And Frank is such a host. He said, I want to be on the podcast, but I don't want to do it remotely. And I don't know when I'm going to be in Atlanta. So how about I invite you down to my home in Key West? And that's what he did. And that's where we did the interview. You talk about the best landscape ever, the best view ever to do a podcast interview. Frank, thank you so much for being such a great host. My wife and son came down. We had a great time and just an amazing host. So, Frank, thank you for coming on the podcast. Thank you for really allowing us to have a great little mini vacation around the podcast. And in the very beginning, I called Frank infamous. And of course, infamous isn't necessarily a compliment. However, if you are Frank Lecrone, that is a compliment because we are talking about The Three Amigos. I'm amazed at how many people have not seen that movie. Martin Short, Chevy Chase, and Steve Martin. That came out when I was in high school. And Nation, that is just an awesome movie. I'm sure you can stream it wherever you are. If you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor. And of course, they misread a letter where somebody was talking about infamous. They didn't know what the word infamous was. They thought it was really famous. So they went down under false pretenses. And the movie hijinks ensued from there. So that's what I was saying to Frank. Frank immediately got it, but I wasn't sure after Frank and I started talking after the interview how many in the Scaling Up Nation would get it, because there are probably a few out there that have never seen that movie. So no, I wasn't insulting Frank. I was bringing an amazing movie reference to the Scaling Up Nation. And I tend to do that a lot. And I don't know if that falls on deaf ears. If you get it, you get it. But if you don't, I don't think it takes away from the podcast. I just felt that I needed to explain that. Nation, I can't believe that we've got one episode left until we are in the last month of the year. How in the world did that happen? It seems like I was just on this microphone giving you a recap of 2024, and now we're almost doing that with 2025. Now, we are going to do that. I always talk about things I've learned and how the podcast has progressed and different things that we're trying towards the end of the year. Well, Nation, that's just in a few weeks. So that's coming up. In the meantime, I am hoping that you are positioning yourself to end 2025 well. Now, whether that's dusting off some of your goals that you made earlier and trying to execute those, it's my hope that you've been doing that this entire year. But if you haven't, perhaps you can go ahead and try to finish 2025 well. At the very least, try to figure out what got in the way of those goals, and were those really your goals to begin with, so you can make a better list. You can do a better job next year by what this year is teaching you. And of course, we're going to be talking more about that in the episodes to come. So many people tell me that they never did goal planning before, but because we talk about it here on the podcast, it's something that they do on a regular basis. Now, if you're a member of the Rising Tide Mastermind, that's what we use the December month for. We go through a review of what happened this year. Why did we start off the year a certain way? What did we learn throughout the year? And how are we going to apply that into the future? And then we give a preview of what we anticipate the next 3 years looking like. And from there, we then take 5 different areas and say, by the end of 3 years, these are the things I will have accomplished. And we have a whole technique that we use for that. We share that with our groups, and then our groups hold us accountable to get that stuff done. So if that sounds like something you want to do, we would love to talk to you about the Rising Tide Mastermind. You've heard me say this before. The Rising Tide Mastermind may not be the right group for you, but trust me, there is a group out there that is right for you. And once you join a group like this, it is amazing. One, the connection that you make. We were talking about the AWT convention earlier, and the AWT is so different when you are a member of the mastermind, because you're not attending alone. You are attending with your entire group and the entire mastermind. And it's so cool because members will remember things that you talked about, issues you've been having, and they will hand carry you and introduce you to vendors that have a potential fix for a previous issue that you mentioned. And it's just really cool to see. And of course, when you're there with your friends, and that's what we all are in the Rising Tide Mastermind, it's so much more fun. So like I said, maybe the Rising Tide Mastermind isn't the one for you, but go out there and try to find the right one for you. If you are interested in learning more about the Rising Tide Mastermind, go to scalinguph2o.com/mastermind. And we, of course, have much information to share with you. And I'd love to do a 5-minute phone call with you to tell you a little bit more about it and see if the Rising Tide Mastermind is right for you and you are right for the Rising Tide Mastermind. Nation, thank you for listening to this episode. I absolutely love putting these podcasts together for you and knowing that we are all together making a difference and raising the bar in the industrial water treatment industry. We'll have a brand new episode for you next week. Until then, have a great week this week, folks. Take care. Want to ensure you're fully prepared for the Certified Water Technologist examination? Our CWT prep course provides you with the tools and knowledge you need, from detailed study guides to a 100-question practice exam. We've got you covered. Visit scalinguph2o.com/CWT prep and start your journey to certification.